Hello, everyone, to the audiences in the room and to you virtually joining us. This is Sustainable Places 2022 for the audiences in the room. In case you want to join the network, this is the Wi-Fi name and ID and the password. We may just get to the point. It is Sustainable Energy Skills in the Construction Sector number 3, where we have 9 projects with us. And you can see on the right the name of the projects. And it is the updated main members of the mailing list. So as you know, we have started this initiative from Sustainable Places 2020 in October 2020. And since then, we are actually growing bit by bit. We are having newer projects. And I may be quick, from previous editions until now, we had overall 4 workshops. But we named this one Sustainable Place Energy Skills number 3 because one of them was hosted by the Build-Up Skills. The first one was the Energy Skills Workshop number 1. And I hope you can scan the QR code and go to the publication that we jointly have released. The second one is number 2, which was happening during Sustainable Places 21. And the third one, hosted by the Build-Up, which was focused on best practices and learning tools, happened during 2021 spring. And this is the last one, and hopefully together with all of you, we will have this opportunity to release a peer-reviewed article submitted among all of us via Open Research Europe. On the special edition for Sustainable Places. And here you can see, for example, the duration of each of these workshops and the registrants and attendees and their interest rate that was given by the platform analytics to us. So let's get to the agenda. After the opening that I am a bit late for, we will give the floor to Mr. Luca Angelino from European Commission. He will tell us about project management and policy background update from the agency. Later, we will get to the second phase where we talk about the older projects. So the order is from the project that will finish the sooner, 31st of July from Pro Heritage. Gerald will tell us about the shared expertise and lessons learned during this project and develop methodologies, and then Train for Sustain from Uli Jakub, and Instruct from Lukasz, Boslik from Jan, and the NZEB Roadshow from Oria. Then we'll have the break. It's a 30 minutes break until 11. That's why you may see a bit of time changes on the agenda from the one released on the website, but the order is still the same. Then afterwards, after the break, we will get to the newer projects, the ones that are finishing in 2024. So we start with See the Skills, Lihnida, where we'll present about the, because this project is new, so she won't be presenting about the lessons learned maybe, but more about the project itself. But then again, Lihnida, if you have a lessons learned already, or if you have a developed methodology, you can discuss it and tell us about it. Next is Arise, where Paul will present about this project. Bus Goes Circular from Jan again, and the NZEB Ready from Oria. And at the end, we will have the Q&A session where we asked you to tell us about the 3 main lessons learned in a nutshell. So it can be really quick. You tell us about it, and if anyone had a question, we can discuss all together. But then again, for the newer projects, it was more focused on your targets and plannings in the next few years where your project is running. And at the end, we will have the conclusion from Luca, where he will tell us about the future calls and the close of this session at 12:30. So I may go to Luca's presentation. And the floor is yours, Luca.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning also to those connected. Actually, the title of the presentation on the agenda was not correct. It refers to another meeting, but doesn't really matter. I'm here just to welcome you and to give a very quick introduction. Welcome to this workshop. I wanted just to, to give the context very briefly, we're facing multiple serious challenges these days, among which we have the climate crisis, high energy prices, and various other challenges, including of course, the current very complicated geopolitical crisis. In order to respond to these crises, the Commission came up with a number of initiatives and responses. This slide depicts and illustrates some of the measures. Firstly, to respond to the climate crisis, we have the European Green Deal in place. One of the key pillars is making home more efficient, of course. And in October 2020, as you certainly know, Commission launched the Renovation Wave initiative with the objective, very ambitious objective, to double the building renovation rate by the end of this decade. That means 35 million building units renovated by 2030. In order also to adapt to the more ambitious greenhouse gas emissions reduction target by 2030, 55%, compared to 1990 levels, the Commission has also proposed the revision of the current regulatory framework, which is currently being discussed at the interinstitutional level between Council and Parliament. And we expect in the coming months to have the new regulatory framework in place, namely the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, the Energy Efficiency Directive, as well as the Renewable Energy Directive. More recently, in order to respond to the crisis, the Commission came up with a number of initiatives, including Repower EU back in March and May 2022, and the EU Save Energy communication. One of the elements which you can see here, in order to reduce natural gas consumption, is also to install, to have new objective to install 10 million new heat pumps across the EU in the coming 5 years. All these policy developments require like a higher number of workers which are qualified in terms of sustainable energy skills in order to deliver on these ambitious targets and to face and to cope with these very, very tough challenges. One of the initiatives which aim to support the achievement of these objectives are certainly the Build Up Skills initiative you're all aware of, because you belong to this family, and you're certainly very familiar with this slide, which depicts the whole evolution of the initiative since 2011 when it was launched. It was funded through 2 programs, the Intelligent Energy Europe in the beginning and Horizon Europe 2020 later until 2020, and now it is going to be funded. So this initiative is going to continue under the Life Clean Energy Transition sub-program. You have here on this slide a circle on the cycle 2019-2020, where we funded 9 projects aiming to boost demand for energy-related skills in the construction sector. These projects you will hear more about today are working on really measures on the ground to stimulate demand, as I said, in terms of procurement, in terms of campaigns, in terms of partnerships. There are a number of initiatives also looking at measures to help recognize and visualize skills and competencies in the construction sector. And this is the topic of today's meeting. We will have nine projects. I really look forward to hearing what the results. We are now maturing in terms of work, so we expect results from these projects to be shared. So personally, I look very much forward to the discussion. You will see here the initiative is continuing. We have 2021, 2022. So a little spoiler. Please bear with us at the end of today's meeting. I'm going to share the current funding opportunities open. So please just bear with us, and I look forward to the discussion, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luca. So next we will go to the Pro Heritage project, where Gerald will present to us lessons learned or developed methodologies on energy efficiency skills, competencies, and qualifications. The floor is yours, Jared.
I try to follow the advice we got. There is something, because you can see it here, so I have to be careful here for the other side.
It's very delicate.
Sometimes it's challenging to do it organizational right.
Let me check that everything's right.
So I hope it will work. Yeah, welcome from my side as well. So I have the privilege to be the oldest one in the group, from the projects, of course, maybe also from the personal age, but that's a different story. We talk maybe later on. Yeah, we finished our project already in July 2022. So if something not went well, so we have to stick to it because it's done. So I will show what's happened the last 3.5 years. When I start with the motivation, so this is also try to combine it with the lessons learned. We had the statement at the beginning, we need to keep the cultural heritage in shape in future generation, and this means also that we need the traditional skills to keep alive. One of the lessons learned when we submitted the project, it was in our group very clear that we need the traditional skills, but due to the involvement in the cultural heritage sector and in other projects as well, I can tell you that the topic of skills and skills at risk are very much in the interest of the Commission, not only if we talk about CINEA, but also we talk about the Directorate General, Education, Languages, Culture, and there are some others. They are also talking about that very, very much. And we are also involved in projects which are dealing with that topic to identify skills at risk. And it's much bigger as what we do here because we was focused on energy efficiency, of course. But if we talk about traditional skills like a blacksmith, they do a lot more than just have an impact on energy efficiency. The most thing is that we had, I would concentrate on the research questions. So for us, it was clear to identify and get a common understanding what is the appropriate efficiency measure for historic buildings. I will show you because we have a common definition. We are agreed in the consortium, and I think it's very much aligned with the sector itself. Then is the next question: which graft we really need to cover? And there are several. Even the mill right we include in that project because I think I have a problem with not enough space here. Sorry. Yeah. I had yesterday an interview. The photograph is over there, and he set the settings, prepared the setting, and had to change everything because I was too tall for him. So I'm used to that situation. So starting again.
If you are more comfortable, you can see.
Yeah, the others don't see me then. Okay. So it would be, I think, more please.
The camera is there.
The camera is there.
It's here from there.
Oh,
so
the other one is different. So
safety distance.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it's better. I have more room to move. So the question was to identify what traditional skill is covered by the project, and we also integrate, for instance, a millwright. That you might think about why is a millwright important. Of course, millwrights in building, and there's a lot of different crafts involved to keep the mill running. And we also integrated this craft because one of our partners do have a mill. During the project, he purchased it, and we saw that there is a need as well. And funny, most of the content we need for them, we could cover from other crafts as well because there was some similarities. And of course, what should they know and how can they explain it to others how we deal with in traditional buildings with energy efficiency. What's that? Now it's the main result. So I will just run through the main results, not all, but the main ones. So we have a common understanding. So the first part of the project was that we discussed, do we have the same understanding about traditional buildings? Do we talk about the same type of buildings? finally, I can say, yes, it is very much the same. There is a standard in UK which covers that a lot. We don't have it in that sense for the other countries, but this is very much that what we have coordinated between us. We have ready the skills card for the energy expert for cultural heritage, which covers the core competences and also a kind of micro licenses for specific trades. So for instance, if you are an electrician, run through the training, you got your certificate for the energy expert, but you can also have dedicated the certificate for the electrician working in cultural heritage. The training course is ready, the material is ready in all the languages we have. So we have, of course, English, we have German, we have Spanish, we have Slovakian, we have Portuguese. Yeah, five languages, that's the point. We also trained the trainer for being a better trainer, because what we have is a lot of experts. They know about, I don't know, a lot is not too much, but we have the experts that know how to keep historic buildings energy efficient, but we don't have the people so often that they are also good trainers. So we need to train them as a trainer. We did that, and there is still a topic, because there is still, after the trainings we had, there are still not enough trainer for that. So I think that will be our future challenge to increase that number, because if we don't have the trainer, we'll of course have the problem to roll out the trainings itself. We have the exam questions ready, so we are prepared for the first training. We did not do a training exam during the project, because we said during the project we have the validation, so we validate the people to get the certificate, because we of course looked at persons, they already have the experience. The e-learning and the exam portal is ready, operational ready, we can work, we have it online. The certificates issued by the ECQA, that's a challenge we have sometimes, because you have to register on the platform for getting this certificate. And to be honest, we still not have all the participants which was on in the training already registered on the portal. So we still have to push them to go there. So they will get their certificate, but if they're not registered, we cannot really give them the certificate. We have produced a video, we have produced best practice examples, which we use in the training. So that's quite nice. And you see it also on the e-learning portal. And I think one of the main results, which was not planned, was very much related to awareness. When we started the project, we was discussing about energy efficiency for historic buildings. And to be honest, the last year, I was only talking about what is the impact of cultural heritage on climate protection. And we include that in the training, in the skills card as well, because we had this year in May, we had a conference in Austria. It was called Monument Protection is Climate Protection, without a question mark. And the climate ministry was a co-organizer of this conference. They said, we are happy that the sector is now moving to do something in relating to climate protection of cultural heritage. And my answer was, no. We're just putting that what we do 40 years ago in the right context. Because when we talk about lime, we use a natural material, which is always a cycle. Because if you have it on the wall, the lime is still soaking CO2 out of the air, and this is the hardening process of lime. So we are already, since centuries, part of the climate protection. And the point was that the Monument Office by themselves never talked about that is an advantage related to climate protection. And therefore, the awareness we got, and we're starting to change around, or to turn around how we present that, is that we say, all what we do, because if we look at the measures we have, the appropriate measures, that's not the most technical ones. The basic principle for a traditional building is keep it dry. And if you keep it dry, you have 60 to 80% of your problem solved. But you have to do it, you have to understand how you keep it dry as well. Because the follow-up of what the problems are, of course, the main problem, then when you see will improve your energy efficiency. So I think I have to move. Maybe that's the point. So when we talk about traditional buildings, what do we have in mind here? First of all, is a building usually built before 1990, because the traditional construction method was, until 1990, it was always the same way how to build the buildings. The construction method from traditional buildings, thick walls, breathable walls, changed in the 20 and 30s last century. Then we started to prefabricate, to have modern and small walls. So there was a change. And the funny thing, and this is a problem we had when we searched for the data to calculate our input, there is no data related to these age categories in Europe. So you can find in some countries 1990, in other countries you find 1945 as a category. So the only thing what we, and happily we found at the end one, a new project, by the way, I was really glad to find that, because all discussion and all questions and requests to the partner, please find out the data about the building, was more or less a zero response. Due to this EU project, we found data. We took all the buildings older than 45. Of course, it's not 100% exact, because the statistic did not give us the right number of buildings they are built traditionally. But we had a very close guess for this number. And of course, there are also buildings after 45. They are built traditional with thick walls, but it's going down. And the important thing is the traditional buildings are built breathable. What means if we deal with the water which is there. We have some exchange of air in traditional buildings. We don't have tight buildings. And when we now try to make this building tight, we damage the building even more. Because if the stone is prepared from his natural conditions breathable, and you stop breathable, you stop the water going out, you damage the stone, because it starts to, it's called in English, deteriorate. Thank you, to deteriorate. So that's the building we have in focus, and we dedicated our measures exactly to these kind of buildings. Okay, yes. We defined some basic rules we agreed on. Stay in the system as long as possible. So you have a natural material, you try to stick to that material, because the material conditions, the characteristics are the same, and therefore there's no changes. And that makes it easier for every intervention. You should always look at the next intervention in the future, because if you worsen the situation now for the next one, of course it will be even more difficult to keep the building in shape. Life cycle of a traditional building is a quite long period we have to consider, because we talk about 300, 400, even some buildings 700 years. We have to keep them alive. This also means modern requirements to fulfill. But the material we use is always reusable. We can put it again and use it for other purposes as well. And we have, and that's also a lesson learned, when we talk about life cycle and look at the products on the market, I was a little bit worried about to see an extruded polystyrol getting an eco label. Sorry, that's waste at the end, and I have no idea how to deal with that at the end. When we talk about that's a positive eco label as an eco-friendly product, what then is a natural stone we have on the wall? We can put it, cut it maybe, and put it again, use it again everywhere else. So we have to keep the entire life cycle from starting cutting down the stone until we really can't use this material anymore. So that is very important to look at. And we should also, and that's an important thing, and that's my second life, I always when I heard that the first time, besides that I'm a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, so I'm a very dangerous man because I can train and coach other people in doing that method. And the most thing here is look at the core, the main cause. If we don't get rid of the main cause and just dealing with the symptoms, it's coming back and backwards. So when you start, you see you have a problem with water anywhere. Maybe it's a different problem because we may have salt in the wall. You have to deal with the salt because that's the cause and not the water is not the cause here. And we have an holistic approach needed for energy efficiency, because we don't look at windows singular. We have to keep the building as a complex, because the building was built, and to be honest, and it was also a lesson learned for me. We're always talking about intelligent buildings. They are modern built with IT and so on. Our ancestors had a lot of intelligence put in their buildings. We had a natural ventilation system, which is working without any energy. And it was possible to, you might know the Burgtheater or also the Imperial Palace in Vienna. In the past, this building was ventilated just by having this natural system. There's a corridor. I think this room can go twice in this size and that size in that corridor. And this was just used by, or the power comes from, and I'll call it an angel on the roof, where the air is coming and pulling out the air which is in the building. And that was enough to cool the building, and also in times of COVID, to keep the air clean. So there is a lot of intelligence in that buildings, in the traditional one. And I always said there's more intelligent, as we all know. But still, we have to understand the building itself, and then we know what is the appropriate measure here. So there are some misbeliefs we have to discuss, and this was also the lesson learned when we changed the point from energy efficiency to climate protection. Traditional buildings always had a bad energy performance. For the Imperial Palace, we are down at 80 kilowatt hours per hours and square meter. And I think when I remember right, at 60 or 70, there is a low energy house starting. So we're quite close to that standard. There's a lot of things possible without very much technique. I know that some, even the forerunner or the front runner of a circular economy, say historic buildings cannot be part of a circular economy. No, as I mentioned, the lime cycle, that's a cycle, a circular economy par excellence, which is there naturally. And also, sehr often we heard the sentence, it's part of the problem of causing climate, a change of climate, and not helping us by solving the problem. But we try to make clear that we see that, and we can prove that that it's not that way.
Sorry, Gerald.
Yeah, I will jump over because it's just a one slide, and now just to show that there's really things that we have completed the learning platform with all the trainings materials, even the videos are on there to see a proper execution of a traditional craft. And that's the overall information. And I'm happy to say that we already had scheduled the first training for autumn, one in Mauerbach, and the second one will be in English. And we still have to discuss where it will happen, maybe in UK, because we have a UK partner, which is a little bit difficult in the actual time because they are not eligible anymore, but we still cooperate with them. Thank you very much. And I hope I followed the advice I got.
Thank you very much, Gerald. Although we have a Q&A session, because some of you told me that you may leave earlier, you have flights. If you have any questions directed to Gerald and you know that you will be leaving early, you may ask now. If not, we'll go to the next presentation, which is from Uli, telling us about Train for Sustain's results and lessons learned on energy efficiency competencies.
It was not me.
Delicate. It was me. I take the blame. Okay, now it's working.
I think
The
it's
floor
all
is
right.
yours.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Moi. Good morning, everybody. My name is Uli Jacob. I'm from the company GER. I'm one of the project partners of the Train for Sustain project, which will end in next month, so in October. And it's my pleasure to present to you now our results of that project, especially the things which we have developed in the last 2.5 years. And I would like to give you an overview on that, especially on all the tools which are now also available and can be used now for the different actors in the field. First of all, just some words about our concept, what we did in these 2.5 years. We have developed a methodology which is based on the levels methodology. We have somehow extended that to a competence quality standard, the CQS, which allows you then to evaluate, to score, and to report your level of competences, skills, and knowledge, which you probably gain for different sustainable energy skills from different courses. And therefore, we have mapped and evaluated over 300 qualification schemes all over Europe. There are just some lessons learned. It's not that easy to collect them all, to get all the information which is necessary to bring that at the end into a tool, so in the database. Now, these qualification schemes are from 10 European and 2 non-European countries, and cover a lot of different aspects really that allows you at the end and the users of the tool to evaluate the different things, either as a professional or a public administration or as a scheme operator, because it's for all of these 3 different kind of users, this tool, really to allow you to do different things, which I want to show you in one of the next slides. Out of this over 300 qualification schemes, we picked up 67, which are now really included in the tool, because those are those ones where we have got all the information really necessary to do the scoring and to really have the chance later on to this evaluation against different schemes, and so to know which knowledge you really have gained in the past and probably what you want to do in the future. And with that, we have now described 1,335 different learning outcomes, which is quite a bunch, and which means if you probably have a look later on the tool itself, you can identify that there are a lot of different learning outcomes described in a way that it's not that easy really to identify if you do a personal evaluation, which is also possible as an expert, what you have really done, and to get that in a matching way. So, not boring you with all the details on the methodology, it's already published, you can see that. It's more important to show you now today our platform, the European Skills Registry platform, which is online. You can register there and, of course, try to find either experts, find projects, or different on your situation. If you are a scheme operator or an expert or public administration, try to use this kind of tool for the different necessities in your projects. Important is that we have implemented the 4 dimensions from levels, and as I said, we have extended that to different scoring schemes, which means the environment, society, economic, and processes are included. And therefore, you can see this 4 different colors, which is then going through the whole tool, so it's quite easy to identify which kind of learning outcomes and then area of expertise and so on you can find in different schemes, and to compare this also later on in green public procurement, because that's also another part of the project which is also somehow implemented here and can be used through the platform. Yeah, just to give you an idea about the platform itself, not boring you with all the details, but for an expert, if you are registered as an expert, you can easily identify other experts, first of all, depending what you want to, how to use the platform. On the other hand, if you are a public authority, you can also try to find someone who's probably interesting for tender and the tender process later on. And with that, you are allowed just to register yourself. And as I said before, that's what I will show to you now today, but you can do or somehow self-assessment, which then allows you just to get an idea how is your knowledge in sustainable energy skills, and probably what you need for a future job for different new courses, which you can also find easily then through the e-inventory, and which I will also show you later on. Important is that at the end, all of that, you can get a skills passport, which then allows you, depending on the different situation, as you are an expert, or if you are probably a public administration, to have either have a look on the skills passport, which is important for the tendering process to get different points in a different project, as I will show you later on, or as an expert to get known what is really your skills compared to others, probably also in the field. And it's not only for individuals. The tool now also allows institutions, companies to set up their also skills passport, which then probably shows easily to potential clients and public administrations what this company is really offering, wise in energy skills. So you can easily see the different parts between society, economic, the process, and environment in which of these fields. And with that, an area of expertise at the end, they are offering their services, and if that probably matches also with the offer which they handed in with the tender. And at the end, you can also then have a deeper look, which means for the different companies or institutes, you can also identify the experts which are linked to these skills. Another feature in this platform now is that also projects can be somehow put into the database, which allows then to give an idea for tendering process as well, if someone of those experts has already done some good jobs and how this were evaluated against the different expertise. And with that, you get an idea probably how valuable the different offers are from the different companies or individuals. Now, more important, as I said before, we have integrated these 67 schemes. All of them are also online. You can have a look on them. You can identify which area of expertise, again, included in which level, which means which scoring from 1 to 5. And with that, you can also compare them, which allows you also as an expert, as I said before, to identify if you have some needs for some more knowledge, which kind of course is probably interesting for you. And if you click on the different course, you get all the information, who is offering these courses in which country, and what are the contents and how many hours do you need for that, and so on and so on. And important is this is open, which means, as I said before, it's also for scheme operators, this kind of tool now. If they want to integrate more schemes from their side, they can easily do that in contacting us, and then we can put that also here on the platform and database. So the e-inventory is also part of the overall picture. As I said before, it's also linked to a build-up skills database. So there's also a button there. So you can also somehow matching these different courses with the build-up skills database, with that to get an idea what is probably necessary for you in the future. So just to give you an idea how it looks like, one of the courses, Casa Clima Energy Consultant in Italy, it's quite small now, but if you look at on the website, you can identify the different qualifications which are needed for that, how many hours you need to get the qualification scheme later on, in which area of expertise you will get the knowledge, and who is providing this course, and so on. And so on. Finally, which is also necessary, we also integrated later in the later stage now a help desk, which allows you as a customer or user of the platform to ask questions if you have some problems, either in using the tool, but also if you have questions to the different schemes. And with that, you have also potential interaction with the different partners from different countries in your national language. So why we have set up all these things and the platform? One major aspect in our approach was that we want to link that to public procurement. And therefore, we have also a pilot case study here. One of our partners from Spain, from the Barcelona, from the region there, have used already the tool for a tender process, trying to figure out how this tool can be really used. Are there any things which we have to adapt? And so we have already collected some lessons learned from using the tool, and those are already somehow implemented. For that process, it's important that you, of course, have to register on the platform, depending if you are now companies or individuals which want to offer something at the end, or if you are from a public administration who wants to offer a tender process or and to receive applications later on. And the question now is how the skills passport, which you have to do beforehand, of course, either as an individual or as a company or institution, how that influences this green public procurement. And I just want to show you only one slide, because if someone is interested to get know more about that, we have some training courses, but some words to that in one of the next slides. So what they did now in Spain, they have two phases with the different candidates, different phases where they have to evaluate, okay, if it's already find the application, if they get down to the next phase. And with the last one, so with the 5 candidates which are pre-selected, there's of course two different phases. and the value judgment again, and some mathematics. And those things here, especially here, the second part and 2b, there's now also a part for the skills passport where you get 7 points, which then influences either if one of those 5 candidates get more points in total, which then allows you as a public administration to identify who of these candidates is more best for this tender and for this work which has to be done to be chosen at the end and to get the job. So that's just one snapshot. It's more behind that. So the process behind is somehow more difficult, and it allows you as a public administration also with the tool to identify more things. So it's just here for example, for architects, if you want to choose that. And it's that way that you have several pillars different on the different works to be done for a public project. And in each way, at the end, as I said, the skills passport will somehow influence the final result on this scoring. Now, as I said, for those who are interested to get more known about the tool itself, so the platform, the ESR, but also how this GPP is somehow integrated and working, you are warmly welcome to take part in our training activities. We will recently start, so 9th of September up to 7th of October. We have several courses. You can get in contact either with the national partners or probably write me an email later on, and then I hand over this depending on your different languages, because usually we translate this all to the national languages to make it more easy. And with that, we want to integrate different stakeholders really to get known how they want to use either the tool and if they have already some experience. And of course, as I said, it's a training course. We will lead you through all these different steps in more detail, as I have now the time to do that today. At the end, and that's, I think, the most important thing for Train for Sustain, we have started a SEN workshop agreement early this year to make a pre-standard out of all those things which we have developed. And we had, until yesterday, the public constellation phase, which allowed you to have a look on the document, which is now about 300 pages, this pre-standard, and to give some input also from other experts, of course. And it's foreseen to be delivered end of this month as a pre-standard, which then allows you to have all the details on the competence quality standard, which is then used already in the platform. And as it is a pre-standard, it's more or less the main result from our point of view out of that project, which allows then to be used later on for different other purposes. All right, that's it from my side. I hope to get you had the chance to give you an insight what we did in the Train for Sustain project, especially with the development of the platform, with the methodology behind, and now with the pre-standard, which, as I said, will be published soon. And this is also available online for free, so everybody can get use of it. And we would be happy, of course, to get some feedback on all the things which we did in this more or less now 2.5 years. So thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Uli. Personally, I found it very interesting because we are developing an EU-level forum in Instruct work package number 6. And I think your platform is actually very useful as well to get to know more experts and to contact them and see if they're interested to join this initiative.
Yeah, we are open to discuss this, and as I said, the coordinator from the project was also there yesterday, and we have another project meeting today here. So we discussed this yesterday. If someone is interested here in the room from the other projects to follow up in a way, however, we are open to discuss that, because that was the initiative of that project to bring something valuable on the market, which can be used then for the others as well. So,
thank you very much. So next is Instruct project, where my colleague Lukasz from ASM will tell us about the lessons learned and the results on energy efficiency, competencies, and qualifications. The floor is yours, Lukasz.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the possibility to tell you a couple of things regarding the Instruct project. I think I will mainly focus on some practicalities and what we have achieved during this period. Of course, I will start with the main goal, which is most probably the goal of every of our projects. So the reducing the energy gap, and of course we are focusing here on skills. So every stage of the construction process needs people with right skills, with trainings, and another goal is how to make this demand that all actors and stakeholders during the construction process feel that all people involved, the installers, architects, and other actors are really trained in the context of energy efficiency, because it's not enough that someone is trained or someone is familiar with the BIM technology. It is also important to have this BIM technology learned very well. So there is a big difference between knowing technology and having training in that technology. Other aspects in the construction phase, of course, really coming to the installers, to the all actors in the construction site itself. Also, it is important to know how to install something. And at the end, the occupancy phase. So our methodology. Oh, this is the wrong presentation, I think. We are missing slides. Sorry.
Sorry about it. The slides were some of them hidden. So,
This is because of different systems. So our methodology, how to reach this goal, was the practical approach. So we have established 5 clusters to have, let's say, the statistical coverage of Europe, and we created 8 subtopics toward this increasing this demand. So in the North cluster, we have energy skill certification and energy gap reduction. We have in the West cluster BIM for energy efficiency training and standards. The Central cluster, which I represent, the ASM company, we have energy skills recognition in policymaking and new partnerships between the value chain in construction. We have also South cluster initiative for buildings and homeowners, and the East cluster, which is about engaging stakeholders to stimulate the demand and developing capacity for supply of continuing qualifications. And what is most important, all these 8 demonstration sites, all these 8 subtopics were focused on a practical approach to energy efficiency. So now I think we have reached like more than 1,500 professionals among all these countries, and there is a few very few details. Maybe I will say about our clusters because I'm most familiar with that. Regarding the partnership with producers and constructors on whole the value chain. During our meetings with the professionals and the representatives of different construction chambers in Poland regarding the construction itself in general, we have a few insights. First of all, there is a huge demand in education sector to establish special classes in the secondary level and upper secondary level because otherwise those workers who are not going to the higher level of education, just straight to the labor market, they do not have special skills connected with the energy efficiency. Yes, they know how to operate with different tools, how to install something, but there is also a requirement for this special knowledge, how to install a window properly, to have this air tightness properly, to avoid airflow. And here is a great opportunity to have like sponsor classes. And in Poland, we have a few good use cases and good practices when private companies are establishing classes in the technical secondary schools, buying equipment, bringing their own specialists from the company and showing in practice, even taking to the factory, showing all the process of how, for example, this window is produced, and then how the proper installation of such windows look like. So this is one of the insights that the education on these lower levels, I mean, not higher education, need to be boosted a lot to avoid such gap. In terms of other good examples regarding the partnerships, there is a lot of examples of the cooperation between companies, producers, and installers. It is also important for the installers to be well trained by the companies, also to know how to install everything. In the construction, from the beginning, with using the concrete, then all the electric installation, hydraulic installation, every stage of the construction has its element connected with energy efficiency. And if we do not look at it very closely and we want to have every stage made in a proper way, because if we lose some good installation at the beginning, so the problems will be growing and growing, and at the end, when the building is finished, our gap reduction will be minimum. So it is important to have it done properly from the beginning. So it is also important to have all the quality control workers and managers also trained to to see if everything is going on. It is especially for the company that is building, because we have two quality controls: the investment quality control and construction quality control. And investors always wanted to have the best quality, but they do not have opportunity to control whole building. So it is another aspect for demand for the skilled quality control managers for both sides. And it also helps us to avoid this energy gap. So this is just only an example of our demonstration, but as you can see, we have 8 of them. There was many workshops being done in each country, like 15 or so. Different workshops, presentations. So this is a very practical way. We are listening to people, what they are saying, what are their thoughts towards all these aspects. Yeah, so this is exactly what I have said, that we are organizing these workshops, gathering those recommendations, and what is also connected with our platform, we are connecting good practice examples and use cases. Currently, there is over 60 use cases on our platform. They are touching different topics, beginning from this, let's say, soft skills through the BIM technology and more technicalities, even how to make projects in BIM and how to use the BIM in the context of energy efficiency well. For example, there is a great use cases about using scanners on the construction sites that are connected with BIM. And as our friend before, we also established a platform which is a huge database. There is like almost 20 subcategories. I won't talk about all of them today, but despite those use cases, database I have mentioned about, we have also here a database regarding the legislation, which is updated all the time. We have a training database. We have a sub page only dedicated to BIM, and one very nice thing is also that we have a database of producers. So if some investors wanted to build their house or other investment connected with the construction site, they can find the products that are manufactured with all sustainability approach, with ecological approach, and so on. I highly encourage you to visit the platform and dig more into it. And the last thing, which I call this innovation, that we have included the blockchain technology into our project. It's connected with the platform, and it will be also the output of this blockchain technology will be an app for the smartphones with the certificate and skills validation. And with the use of that blockchain technology, we can facilitate the skills and the training, because we have here put a block with the certificate validation. So we can compare the skills between countries if the level of this certificate is similar in different countries. That will allow workers, for example, to show that their skills are also good for working in a different country. Yeah, this is all right. So I can finish now. Yeah, this was the most important things I wanted to show. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lukasz. So next, we go online. We have Jan with us. Jan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
so yes, we can. So I stop sharing my screen.
And I'm starting.
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. I put it
Oh.
on full. So Jan, you have 15 minutes. Please tell us about your results and lessons learned and methodologies. The floor is yours.
Thank you for giving me the floor. And I'm looking highly forward to this presentation on the sustainable energy skills in construction sector 3.0. And in this presentation, I'm focusing on the experience from the Netherlands with especially task-based unit of learning outcomes and how we replicated our lessons learned within BusLeague on a topic, the installation of heat pumps. Within BusLeague, we are working on a balance between push and pull factors. And in order to do so, we are working on a recognition of energy skills that enables legislative changes and financing support in order to increase or stimulate the demand. On the other hand, we use the same recognition of skills to deliver practical and effective upskilling and to fill in the stimulated demand in order to prove its effectiveness. And that in order to speed up the renovation wave that is needed to deliver the NZEB or the ZEB building stock in the future. What is then needed? A lot of skills are needed because customers are creating new questions, are having new questions, especially due to the urgency to stop with using gas in many countries. Customers need to get good answers from craftsmen. And that's not only on the technology for heating, but also on the building stock. How to make sure that the building as a system is functioning properly. In order to stimulate the demand, we are using a series of learning outcomes within a task-based qualification that can be used in procurement guidelines, and in that sense quite comparable to the Train for Sustain project, although in the Train for Sustain project the learning outcomes are focused on the full-scale sustaining of the built environment on a general level, while within BusLeague we are focusing especially on the cross-craft elements of skills in order to deliver quality. What is the scope of the BusLeague EE skills qualification? One, it's quite fundamental, level-based, and competence-based. In order to have a good overview of the key skills for construction workers, in combination with the key skills for professionals. The cross-crafts elements have been done on a more specific level, and to do so we use the task-based approach that is replicated from the past project Newcom. What we are not doing is we are not delivering a very occupation-specific qualification, and we are also not delivering a very technology-specific qualification that has more details. An impression of the main tasks. They are focusing, for example, on the why, to explain the impact, to explain the characteristics, explain in general how to improve the energy performance. So these are highlighting the why of a good sustaining of the building and the installation is needed and goes hand in hand. On the other hand, we focus on generic cross-craft skills. What we found is that in many cases there is not a careful inventory done as input for an integrated improvement process. Each of the crafts is doing their own inventory without using previous inventories done by other people within the value chain. And this can be hugely improved as you all build upon each other's work. Then to design and apply step-by-step retrofit plans. Design is one, application is two, and they need to be done both properly. Then ensure the achievement of ecology and sustainability criteria. Do not forget comfort, health, and safety requirement. Safety is nearly always in the scope, but we see that when people start sustaining the building, that comfort and health are often forgotten, although they are the most important in the end. The cost effectiveness and how to engage with other crafts and how to ensure the quality of work as you are building upon each other's quality. One important aspect is to ensure the quality of work is how to use and interpret thermographic images, both for building and installation issues, and a very important one is how to provide the homeowner with good information needed. Then some insights on the what, how to reduce heat loss, how to identify air leakages. It are the typical issues when you start sustaining from a holistic point of view. Here an overview of the main tasks on the building services. When adjustment of the ventilation system is needed, and when you are sustaining towards NZEB or ZEP, it's always the case in some places in the process that adjustment is needed. Then a very important one is the electrical services. The electrification is in many designs an integral part, but if electrification is done without proper attention for the air tightness and the insulation, then you have a problem. And that's the same for necessary plumbing and ventilation systems, minimization of heat loss, and so on. So these are quite a lot of details for this presentation. You do not need to read them all, but it's just to give an overview of how holistic the approach was. Then an impression of some of the key subtasks. So for example, to identify and to read properly the product information, to identify if materials are fit for purpose. We found in many cases that the materials are there, but the materials in place are not the proper materials, or they are in place, but they do not work properly. Then within the project, we have taken the results in use. For that, we are exploring the cooperation with hardware stores. And as the project is finalized in February next year, we are full speed into this with huge differences between countries. That's very interesting to see how the country ecosystems, how they work, and how it is possible to integrate learning into the national ecosystems, because not one country in Europe works the same with regards to this. Why do we use task-based unit of learning outcomes? Because it are statements that include responsibility and in order to become responsible for your behavior, you need to have knowledge and skills, and you need to be competent. They deliver a practical perspective on what's needed. And what's especially learned is that when you use the task-based approach, that you have a very good overview of the overlaps between actors. So you can really see how you can properly design a training program. That can lead to increased recognition. Another point, main lesson learned, is that if you have clear learning outcomes, then the training companies can deliver better training because they have a better understanding of what needs to be trained. And another important element is that the task-based approach is flexible. For example, there is now a huge boost in the heat pump market, but we also know that the heat pumps that are currently installed need some adaptations in the future when there will be alternative refrigerants popping up into the market. How do they work? A short overview and reminder. We have a task, for example, to give advice about the heat pump installation. It includes technical aspects, it includes risks, and it includes solutions and advice around it. On each of the subtasks, there is a concrete learning goal. For example, check whether the hydraulic circuit is working properly, identify the main components, and each unit of learning outcome has a competence. So somebody has to be competent to identify the main components. Part of the skills is how to explain how the main components of the installation work. And in order to explain them, you have to know what the main components are, and you have to know the sequence of how the system works. What is important, and also a very nice lesson learned, is if you do this properly, then each task and each subtask and each unit of learning outcome is only one time in the database. And that means that harmonization of skills and skill qualification becomes much easier. And it's very nice to see that in the upcoming regulations, comparison and mutual recognition of skills becomes not a wish, but a requirement. And I think that with the task-based approach, we are ready for that. What do you get as a result? An overview of the tasks, an overview of the subtask, and you can clearly identify what kind of unit of learning outcomes are relevant. And here you can also see that, for example, unit of learning outcome 6 is used in many of the subtasks in the qualification. And here you can can get an impression of the competences, the skills, and the knowledge items fully harmonized and properly identified with a unique identification number that can be used in the future for harmonization and mutual recognition. How can we take them in use? And that's a lesson learned. Within BuzzLeague, we have a very lengthy overview of task and subtask because sustaining buildings is not that easy, especially if you want to train everybody involved in the value chain. And in order to take them in use, you can make a selection for your country, if there are any country-specific requirements, but you can also make a selection for your profession. So what needs a carpenter to know with regards, for example, to heat pumps? And even a carpenter needs to know several things when a heat pump is applied in a building. The unit of learning outcomes, they power advice on suitable upskilling content so that every profession can get the proper learning and the proper assessments served. And they empower personal recognition that stimulates lifelong development. For example, with the use of professional cards. And it's very nice to mention that here we are also reaching out to the Train for Sustain project to find out how the generic unit of learning outcomes of Train for Sustain can be connected to the more specific learning outcomes used in BuzzLeague, and also the course catalog, as was also presented by the Train for Sustain project. Because we need to accelerate, 2050 is far away, but sustaining the built environment is not far away. For example, only in the Netherlands, we have a waiting list of more than 70,000 heat pump installations that needs to be done. And we are lacking 15,000 properly trained craftsmen in order to deliver those installations. That's it. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jan. I'm looking at the chat. We don't have any questions yet. So we leave the questions for the Q&A session. Next is the NZEB Roadshow, where Oria will tell us about the results and lessons learned on the same topic. Great, I can see your screen, Oria.
Thank you. So
the floor is yours.
I should start. Thank you very much. I will present the main results of the NZEB Roadshow. I think it's one of the best projects in which I was involved. It is run by an effect from Bulgaria, together with the Bulgarian Construction Chamber. From Croatia, we have the Technical University of Civil Engineering and Architecture in Zagreb, with Hellenic Passive House Institute from Greece, Passive House Italia, Zephyr, and Cluster Pro NZEB with one of its founding members, the National Institute of Research and Development in Buildings, Urban in Czech, which I represent here. Of course, it's under the topic like the other sister projects or brother projects, stimulation of the demand for NZEB relevant construction skills, because we acknowledge from the start that there is no skill demand without demand for quality buildings. It is based on the build-up skills EU exchange sessions, the outcome of the technical working group on market acceptance organized within these exchanges, Train to NZEB and Fit to NZEB projects, with the goal to increase the understanding of the benefits of nearly zero energy buildings and skilled labor within the stakeholders group, shaping the real estate market. So it's about putting the building knowledge hubs that we develop in Train to NZEB and further develop in Fit to NZEB projects, to put them on wheels and to go from city to city, from place to place, even from country to country, with mobile demo units, with gamification activities, having as the front the most important event or type of this project, the NZEB Weeks or the NZEB Days. So first of all, the mobile demo units were meant to be designed and built as housing units, putting all the knowledge, some technology and practical experience regarding nearly zero energy buildings, aiming at training visitors about the energy efficiency, materials, comfort, sustainability, to offer the visitors the possibility to direct experience the high internal comfort and the actual technology that is fit for nearly zero energy buildings, and to demonstrate real-time energy efficiency performances. And yes, we have our champion, which is made by our Croatian partners, Muza. This is really a piece of the art, having all the features that we would want it to have in our mobile units. And I'm sure that it's already famous on the social media. Regarding gamification, the idea is to simplify the concept of NZEB for games, to communicate and explain the simple and the basic principles of energy design of buildings, and to get rough results on savings comparing measurable data, to explain how the buildings affect the environment, and to demonstrate and to achieve the fact that NZEP can be obtained by everybody. And we developed together with our coordinator on this part of the activity, gamification, which is the Hellenic Passive House Institute, some games for various ages, even for 4 to 7 years old. We have a cartoon book with Nzebo, who is the hero dog, explaining and teaching young people, children, how to achieve passive house performances and nearly zero energy building performances. And yeah, I think this is the core of the project, the NZEP weeks or the NZEP days, to coordinate the execution of the marketing and stakeholder engagement strategies, to apply the strategies that we have developed, and to monitor and evaluate what we have done, to document and develop case studies in the national cases, and at the end to deliver monitoring reports with recommendation how to replicate this kind of campaign. And I just want to briefly present to you some pictures, because this is all I have prepared. For us, there are memories on what we have done in each country. And first of all, Bulgaria. In all countries, we have a variety of events, of actions, of interactions, in fact, with the stakeholders, from trainings, workshops, participation in conference, in real estate fairs, in construction fairs. And yes, pandemic affect us very much. We try to not to remain in the backup, but we try to organize events even online and even in a restrained number. And of course, we had to extend the duration of the project. And yeah, the first events that we could really do, even in pandemic, was in the window of restrictions that we had last summer. And combined conference and online events with physical events. That was done in Bulgaria, but also in other countries. The core of the events in Croatia, of course, is Muza, that could be shown. Also, many practical demonstrations with how the technology works, with infrared, with even virtual reality applications, practical things on materials, on technology and construction products. And even if you can look on the right side in the bottom, there was a very interesting demonstration combined with relief the stress activity on the security window that we also apply in Romania with our partners from Saint-Gobain, permitting the visitors to relieve the stress by hitting the glass, the resistant glass. In Greece, I think from the first plan that we have to organize NZEP Week, Greece was the first one to organize NZEP Days. But they are organizing shorter events, but much more than we envisaged at the beginning. So they are going from city to city. These are only 2 events that are popularized. Combining small mock-ups that are easier to transport, to site visiting, going to schools and learning children with practical things, how to understand the physics that are behind the NZEP concept. In Italy, they were the champion on online communication. Of course, they were more affected by the pandemic, but they combined practical workshops with on-site demonstrations to the online and increased the visibility by, I don't know, thus compensating maybe a bit the physical interaction that we envisage in the first place. And yeah, like Mel Brooks said, once it's good to be the king. If I'm presenting the roadshow, I put some more pictures from Romania. We started last year with some combined events in Bucharest. It was a full week, like 6 days. It was like a mega conference, but yeah, with fewer people, with many interactions and many small events organized, from demonstrations, visits on site, and on the left side you have a later exchange in a site, nearly zero energy building site in Iași, with more than 80 people visiting best practice example. After Bucharest last year, we organized in Brașov in an open space at the beginning of May. And we have like 10 to 13 partners visiting sites or best practice buildings, or the research infrastructure from the Transylvania Technical University that you can see on the bottom. We have many activities, workshop with your local authorities, with the professionals, demonstrations, consultations on projects for architects or even for homeowners who are building their own home, and of course playing with the kids. And I would recognize that there is an energy sucking experience, but at the end it's offering a different energy. It's filling you with different energy. And yeah, I remember that at the end of the Brașov week, when we made this picture, my wife, who's reading my Facebook account, I didn't have time to see the picture, but she WhatsApped me and said, great pictures, great picture, nice touch with those kids. And this was the atmosphere that we continued in Iași at the end of June and beginning of July, in a really hot period. It was really sunny and really difficult, but it was fun. We increased our member to more than double our partners, with demonstrations, with airtight booth, airtight facility built on site there in a public space, in a very good location in the back of the Culture Palace in Iași, which is one of the symbols of Iași, and Palace Mall, who is a very populated area. And of course, we were many, and we are continuing in Cluj-Napoca at the beginning of November, hopefully a better and a greater event. And all the story is about personal engagement. Even if we have the obligation in the official journal or monitoring, it's very difficult to find it in reality. And we need to involve people, because one of our friends, I think he's here in the picture, told us once that the construction chain, the construction process, it's an organic one, because there are many people involved. So we have to involve the people, we have to raise their skills, their knowledge, their awareness, in order to recognize the nearly zero energy building in reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ariel. I may check. No, we don't have any questions online. But I checked from time to time, from 15 until 17, 18 audiences online. And also in the room, we have about 12, but then from time to time it was 15, 16. So overall, we can say 25 to 30. If you have any questions for Oria, you may ask, especially for those that may leave us during till and won't be here till the end. If not, yes, we are just on time for the coffee break. I may check. Yes, we can see your screen. And this project, since it's new, we may get to know about their plans and their targets. The floor is yours, Lehneda.
Yes, thank you, Mohi. Good day to everyone. I will share our experience or plans, as Mohi said, and some of our results that are already realized within the project See the Skills. See the Skills is a project that has started last year in May, so we are already 1 year into realization of this project. We had our Debbie at this workshop last year also when we presented our plans, so now we can show also some of our accomplishments within the project. I will briefly go through the slides. First, we will present where is our project now with realization with the plan activities, some of the lessons learned with through so far actions, and some of our planned further actions and defined or selected approach. One of the first slides will share our first, maybe most interesting lesson learned. Our first in-person meeting that was held this June in Barcelona was a very joyful experience because we as a team has gathered for the first time this, after 1 year of working together. And also one interesting thing that happened toward our actions towards sustainability of construction is that we had a visit of interesting site. It was a factory for preparation or production of concrete from recycled construction material, which is something that is really towards sustainability in construction. Very inspiring visit, and it served also as a team building of our project team. Now, only briefly to refresh what were the main objectives of See the Skills. See the Skills activities are around triple V approach, which tackle the visibility, then validation and value of construction skills. So all our actions are somehow grouped in these three objectives in order to reach these three valuable goals of the project. The main idea is going toward creation of the integrated database or register of energy skills, which is something very much similar with the job which is already done by Train for Sustain. This integrated database of energy skills is supposed to incorporate three different databases: the database of training schemes or available training opportunities for upskilling of workers and building professionals. Then the second database is database of skilled and certified professionals. And the third database, the database of materials and construction products, together along with their energy efficient marks or properties. And all these databases will be linked or integrated together through the knowledge, skills, and competences that are behind all these three databases. How we plan to manage this? The tool that will interconnect all the databases are planned to be unit of learning outcomes in terms of unit of learning outcomes that will result after the training schemes or trainings that should be undertaken. then this unit of learning outcomes that are defining the competences of the skilled professionals for the second database, and also what one professional should know or be competent to do in order to incorporate or to install the certain construction material or product. After creation of this integrated database or register should enable a wide area for matching, leveling, and mutual recognition of skills, which will finally result with the increased value of the energy skills. Where is the skills now with its realization? In the first part, in the initial part of the project, we have conducted a comprehensive survey or status quo analysis of the existing energy efficient skills. It mainly covered the geographical area of the 5 project countries, but also there are some insights into the existing energy efficiency skills in wider European area. I will show the results later from this survey. This year, we also prepared a concept of the database, the integrated database of skills, with incorporated 3 different databases as mentioned before. And now, currently, we are developing the tools for matching and validating the skills. Further on, in the second part of the project, because we are approaching our midterm by the end of November, we will proceed with implementing or realization of the database, because now only the concept is created and discussed. We will proceed with realization of the integrated repository and fulfilling the databases with data, their integration, and also developing other functional tools within the integrated database, which will be realized in the next project period and hopefully in the next edition of this workshop. Next year, we will be able to present these new results. As I said, something that is already realized is conducted survey. This is briefly the methodology for research, which encompassed comprehensive desk research. We have found more than 500 data sources related to energy efficiency skills, which were then listed into the Zotero database, linking to the original source of the data. Then our research also encompassed organized workshops and interviews with experts. And finally, we have realized a survey which was separated in 2 different parts, or has 2 different target groups. One was the building professionals or foremen, and the second target group were building companies, their owners and their managers. The key areas of research were focused, or the questions that we have arised and for which we have asked for answers and opinion, were focused on the list of skills that are already existing in the national roadmaps, the list of training schemes already available, then the list of trained skilled professionals and other visible in order to be promoted. The status of validation of prior learning was something that was also tackled within this research, because it should serve for our further actions within the project and the level of awareness of the value of the energy skills. Briefly, what are our lessons learned from this surveying? The identification of the need of visibility is more than obvious. Only 1/4 of the respondents, and we had a significant number of respondents, which is above 350 respondents, have answered that only 1/3 or 24% have their skills listed somewhere. And which are the most common sites where where we can find the notification or data of possessed skills, energy efficiency skills, are on third-party websites or social media, certification training provider, sometimes on the professional websites. But there is no general list or register of certified professionals. So there is a significant need for visibility of skills and skilled professionals. Regarding the question of validation, 1/3 of the respondents have responded that they have their skills validated and they possess some formal document or certificate that is recognizing or showing their skills. Most of the respondents that has formal certificate has answered that they got that certificate issued from professional organization. 1/3 of these respondents have issued their certificate from formal education entity. So also this need for much or more extensive validation of skills is needed. One of the most important conclusion was regarding the awareness of the value of skills. And the result that we have obtained from the surveying companies and company owners is alarming about the necessary action that is required. When we ask the company owners, in case when you lack skilled professionals regarding energy efficiency and digital skills, more than half of them has answered that they will ask and they will seek for external experts. They're not thinking about reskilling, upskilling of their own workers, or maybe 1/3 of them is taking into consideration this opportunity. More than half of them will ask for external experts. So this is something that need to be taken as an alarm for action required in order to promote the awareness about the value of skills, because employing skilled professionals will also increase the value of the companies itself. These are some of the identified prioritized trainings, or what kind of trainings are needed as identified from the foremans, building professionals. This is the red dots, and the company owners and company managers, the blue dots. Companies have identified that BIM skills and digital skills are the most that are lacking, but the foremans don't have such kind of polarization in identification of the prioritized trainings. They also identified cross-craft trainings as necessary, along with installation of renewable energy sources, including heat pumps, installation of heat pumps, and installation of photovoltaic sources. So this kind of trainings, BIM and digital skills, cross-craft training, and installation of renewable energy sources are one of the most prioritized. And the good thing is that we, in our project, in the next phase, are planning to develop exactly this kind of trainings for upskilling and for validation. The ongoing work regarding the developing of integrated repository of skills within the project is now on the table. As I said, we have developed the concept of the integrated repository of skills, and its realization will go in the next phase of the project. This is a screenshot of the project website, where the integrated database, which will include these three mentioned before databases, database of professional, database of companies and materials, construction materials, and also the third database of training schemes, will be embedded, along with the additional functional tools, which will enable searching through the databases, matching of skills, etc. What is the background of the idea? The idea is that city skills should use all already achieved results from previous past projects, including the achieved results from the projects that are running in our call. I mentioned before the a very excellent realization of work or work done by Train for Sustain. We are very happy that we have realized that our geographical areas are complementary, so it is good thing that we can make databases that will not repeat itself but will complement each other. The integrated repository of CEDA skills area or database will include the 3 databases, which will be separate databases but connected within this integrated repository through appropriate APIs and by using already existing databases. For the database of training schemes, we are lagging on the Bus Advisor app, which will be only upgraded, and additional training schemes will be added to it, but the main database of training scheme will be the Bus Advisor app. Then regarding the professional list of professionals and companies that are employing professionals, we also plan to use already existing databases or lists of professionals previously created within Newcom and also trainee. We will search for other available databases of professionals in order to create one integrated list of all already listed or certified construction professionals. And this is something that will go in the next project activities. Regarding the methodologies,
sorry,
yes.
Lena, sorry to interrupt. Your time is up. You may wrap it up
Yes,
shortly.
go to the conclusions. Yes, thank you, Mohi. Only briefly, something that is ongoing or started with the realization are the developing the tools for matching and leveling skills, which will be enabled within the repository. And one thing that is basic is defining the qualification standard of minimum requirements, which will serve as a tool for certification, both of professionals and also mutual recognition of different training schemes. I will skip the next 2 slides and go to the end of the slide. CEDA skills have identified several products that will bring innovation potential, and we have selected 3 of them to be submitted or listed within the joint activities in Horizon Result Booster to be promoted jointly with our sister projects. The 3 of them are connected with these 3 V objectives. The first one, integrated repository regarding visibility of skills, then the tool for recognition of previous learning, which will enable validation of skills, and the third one, the web tool for post-occupancy evaluation, which will serve to increase the value of skills. We find that these activities within the Horizon Result Booster are very much important for promotion of all the tools and all the activities that all the projects in this call are doing, because intense promotion is more than needed in order to increase the visibility of the results and to aid their uptake in order to reach the impact and to increase the impact of the results of that all our projects are creating. So having us all of these projects on the stage together in order to promote our achievements and our results, I think that it is the right thing to do, and especially as the example that we have and that we are doing within Horizon Results Booster. So thank you for listening. I was appreciated to share our achievements so far within the project. Thank you once again.
thank you very much, Lihnida. It was very nice to get to know about your database and RPL. And as you mentioned, it's actually very complementary to what we are doing in other projects. So I may be quick. Yes, Paul, I see you are sharing your screen. Could you please go to your presentation? And Lihnida, can you please stop sharing your screen? Thank you. Okay, great. Paul, you may just go to your presentation, and here we can see your screen. So next is Arise project.
I've gone to the presentation, Mohi, but it's not showing us yet.
Okay, I may show it. I can share it from my screen. It's fine.
If you can try, because it's showing up as duplication here at my side.
Is it okay if I share it from my screen? Can you see it?
That's perfect. If we can make it seamless for the audience, that's even better. Thank you very much indeed.
Yes, the audience can see it, but then you may just tell me when you need me to press next, okay?
I will indeed. Thank you very much, Mohi.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, many thanks. Many thanks for the opportunity to present our Arise project today to you, the team here gathered both virtually and in person. The Arise project is a 30-month project. We've started the 1st of September of last year in the middle of the second stage of lockdown. We've had our 4th partner meeting just this week here in Dublin with Technology University Dublin, and we're moving forward now in our project, and I'll detail that, how we're meeting those energy efficiency competencies by stimulating the demand for sustainable skills. Next slide, please. Very quick agenda is, why must we digitalize construction? The approach that we're taking, the transition that we're all involved in. So it's great to be part of this consortium of everybody that's pushing towards this. How we all then will transition construction. What is the key mechanism that we're deploying in Arise, that we're coming at the back end of our BIM CERT project? We've joined with other projects. We have formed the BIM Energy Performance Alliance, over 100 members of different groups all over Europe from 6 different previous EU projects, and harnessing the skills for that, looking at task-based skills, measuring the benefits, but importantly, sharing with yourselves and others the challenges that we all face. And those are ongoing challenges and how we address those. Next slide, please. Digital construction is nothing new. Digital has been across all different industries, but the challenge that we face is getting the industry, which is the second least innovative, second only in the lack of innovation to agriculture, to engage in digitalization. And it's not just digitalization at blue collar level, it's at all stages of the supply chain and all the operators within the chain. We must engage with construction companies to put those links across that full value chain and deliver that visibility of skills, training and benefit. There's no sense delivering the skills if we can't measure the benefit. And our ultimate goal is to get that digital literacy within construction to overcome the skill shortages, overcome the challenges, the energy challenges, and make construction more innovative and more competitive. Next slide, please. The real challenge is there for us all. Energy use in buildings is almost 18%. Energy accounts for 73.2% in all of our industry. Unless we tackle this in a cohesive fashion, we will never tackle our climate challenges. It's not just energy and energy use in construction, it's also in maintenance, it's in deconstruction and in management. So at every stage along the construction value chain, we must tackle and address the energy challenges and use digitalization as the key catalyst to deliver the skills at all levels that will allow that continuum of communication across the full value chain. Next slide, please. Our digitalization approach it's unavoidable. We must tackle this. We must use it as that building block to deliver energy efficiency. As we said previously, energy efficiency at every stage, and make sure that challenge of as designed and as built, that gap is closed. We can design the most beautiful buildings, the most energy efficient buildings in the world, but unless we build them to that standard, to monitor, to evaluate, to change, to modify, we must do that in order to arrive at that. As I've said, those are the skills that we require. We're looking across a number of different projects and partners, especially here within this fantastic forum, where we share ideas, where we share concepts, and how we all act in unison and cohesion to help drive the construction group. Next slide, please. Digital upskilling will only be provided and achieved through the workforce. We can put in all the processes and all the parameters and all the disciplines we want, but unless we have a skilled workforce capable of delivering that and stimulated to delivering that, there's where we need to go. Earlier on, a number of the different speakers talked about the same systems that we use, how we get the worker to be stimulated to engage and to remain engaged. So it's not a stop-start process. And it was mentioned earlier on by Gerard, the gamification process. We're using that in Arise to engage with the worker, but also to make sure the worker is continually engaged. We're using micro modules, segmented accreditation, digitalized individual learning accounts to let the learner choose their own pathway. Let the learner take the direction they want at a time they want, and to create the new medium that we call work-life learning balance. It can't be a load added on to the worker. It has to be in balance with their life. And we've got to make sure that's commensurate with the development we need. Importantly, also, to address the differences within society, within construction, we're looking at a dual mandate of awarding certificates and or CPD points. So it allows the same learning process to be used by blue-collar workers, white-collar workers, to choose the learning they need, but also choose the reward that they need, either certification, CPD, or a mixture of both, and to build their digital individual learning account. Next slide, please. So that digital transition that we use is not looking to replace the education establishments. It's looking to work in harmony with the current education. It's not a one-size-fits-all. We've got to look at what we call beyond blended, to use the different segmented course contents, ease of access, and innovative delivery, to engage the worker, to remain engaged, and to keep that journey, to overcome the challenges construction faces of lack of skills, of lack of viability, and lack of people going into construction because it's not seen as a career choice. It's not just bricks and mortar. It's not working in the wet. It's not working in the cold. It's to show the workers the viability of their skills and the opportunity there for continual professional development, and to engage in continual training so that the worker feels involved and part of that process. And we deliver training to raise the skill levels beyond just the traditional access. Next slide, please. In our project, we've recognized, as others have here, there's a complete disconnection in what the process is and what the outcomes are. So how do we overcome that disconnection? Is by planning from concept. Use the design stages and the built assets. Evolve those to meet need. To overcome the disconnection between workers and management, between workers and the coalface, and to make sure that gap between as designed and as built is minimized and closed so we get the outputs we require. Next slide, please. Biggest problem we all face is digital distance. When we talk about the workforce, it's not just the new workers coming in or the young workers in construction. How do we provide vocational mobility for that huge swathe of workers currently in the workforce? Those that have never engaged in formal education, formal training. Those that have a digital dissonance and a fear of engagement. That's one of the biggest barriers we have to stimulate in the engagement, is to get over that first hurdle. And we're getting through that with basic modules, basic introduction, and build digital literacy before we even go near the digital tools such as BIM and others, is to grow that confidence and get that currency within the workforce. Next slide, please. The Arise Skills Innovation is not just in skills delivery. It's also in the learning accounts. It's in that matrix of skills maturity of traditional and beyond blended learning, leading to new qualifications and new jobs. It's looking at everybody within the profession, blue collar and white collar workers, and giving that learning content. It's also about task-based learning and impact-based measurement. We combine the two so we get the results that training delivers, and we're able to quantify the energy savings. Diana Lykar from IECE in Macedonia is one of the partners in the ARISE project, and she's looking at the algorithm of how we quantify energy skills from the skills delivered and measure that in real outcomes. That's also been looked at with our partners in KEA and Copenhagen, who are building the back end, the blockchain, so that not just the impact of skills at energy level is measured, but the impact of skills at the workforce level. It gives them the vocational mobility we've talked about. We're then looking at transferring those skills through gamification, through learning points, where the learner then can take those learning points and change those into the cryptocurrency of CertCoin to purchase the certificates or the CPD points they require. So that stimulates the investment, not just the investment from the worker, but the investment from industry, so that we reach the energy targets we require. Next slide, please. That construction transition we're talking about is when we get to the common data environment. It's not just about numbers, it's about people. It's about disciplines, it's about skills. And making sure that common data environment is shared by all. So that digital literacy gives access to everybody. So they're able then to see how digitalization makes a difference in their daily life, their work life, but also in the company life. They're all in that same pathway moving forward. So construction transition is all about people. It's not just about industry. It's bringing it to a people level by giving them the skills. Next slide. That skills exchange mechanism, very simple photograph there. How many times have we all been where the journey is a right angle path and it takes the longest time? How can we engage with the workforce as we're doing in a plural approach and let the user experience then take the shortest journey possible, but still get the same outputs? You've got to make the journey easier to engage, easier to sustain, and easier to maintain. So that pioneering training scheme that we have, that cross-section influencer, is given the user choice. Whereas in today's current traditional education, the education establishment lay out a route that you must follow. The learner, to maintain and sustain engagement, has to have a path of choice, a choice that suits them, task-based learning, segmenting micromodules, accreditation, and also allow them to choose a non-linear pathway to suit their lifestyles. Next slide, please. That digital skills exchange is revolutioning the skills process. We're looking to put the learner in charge, where they choose the journey, they choose the outcomes, but they're given the ability to do so. By the learning points they accrue, changing that into CertCoin, and then purchasing what they require, either CPD or certificate, give them the destination they require for their career. Don't forget, when we engage in learning and training, the worker, it's their journey. It's not our journey. We are there to empower the journey, to make the journey easier for them, but give them the outcome they require, but also measure the outcome in the task and impact-based training. Next slide, please. Connectivity is imperative. Connectivity through events such as today, where you have 15, 20, 30 projects, all learning from one another and working in a connection. That connectivity needs to be brought to all different levels. Every single level within the construction sector must have that connectivity. And that digitalization is the common language of construction. It's no longer French, German, English, Irish, whatever. Digitalization is the common data environment which allows all workers to engage by giving them the skills to communicate at all levels within the construction, but also at international levels. So therefore we bring the vocational mobility and recognize those skills right across Europe. Common data environment of skills recognition is just as important within the industry as within Europe. It allows us to overcome the shortages in the workforce, shortages in supply chains, but importantly, address the energy efficiency we need by having transformational competencies within the workforce. Next slide, please. That skills pathway is mapped out there, where we're looking at the skills exchange. We're now quantifying the skills. The quantification of the skills is also being measured with energy outputs, the energy algorithm we've talked about, and then the digital connectivity. One of the goals we would like through the BIM Energy Performance Alliance and events such as this, how do we build a digital center of excellence for Europe in a virtual environment that allows everybody to share. How do we take today's conference or today's work session to a new level? So that we have open access to the different units, the different modules, and be able to share that. We're doing that within BIM EPA. We have 6 or 7 different projects sharing all of the modules. All of the modules now online, so that learner deliverers can use those modules to enhance the workforce. We've got to bring that to an international level with a common standard between us all. That's one of the goals of our project. Next slide, please. The challenges are there for us all, not just construction industry, but us, the people delivering the projects. How do we get construction education to be influenced, to contribute to the climate and digitalization? What's it going to take to bring everybody on board? Right across Europe, where we create a level playing field. From North Macedonia with our partners the whole way right through to Ireland, from east to west, from Finland the whole way down to Italy, north to south. Create that level playing field in digitalization within the construction sector to achieve the energy goals we need. And importantly, such as today, what have we learned from past projects so we don't make the same mistakes, and what the students and professors need to thrive. And this is a wonderful forum today for sharing that, sharing those opportunities. And the next one is the build up skills then in November to share and keep maintaining those challenges. Next slide, please. One of the things we've introduced is TIBL learning. It's not just task-based, it's task and impact-based learning. So that current traditional learning methodology, we're changing those. So they're no longer just qualitative, they must be quantitative. So we measure the impact based on the task, and we give the tools for the worker to deploy that. And ultimately then through that impact-based learning, we're ensuring that the students, the learners, acquire knowledge efficiently, effectively, and are able to deliver in the workplace. Next slide. Key recommendations. Digital is the new normal. Digital is the new center to every interaction within industry, internal and external, for all organizations, and we must drive further up that adoption curve to make sure we get the efficiencies that digital will bring, but it must be delivered at the people level, at the skills level, and be measured that. Next slide. Folks, that's our Arise project in a nutshell. Apologies, I ran through it as quickly as time permits. Our contact points are there. As I've said a couple of times in today's presentation, I think today's forum is excellent because it allows us to share in an open forum measure, learn what's working best in different areas, and combine that for the benefit of the ultimate goal of getting greener construction in Europe, vocational mobility, and a greater skilled workforce. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your presentation. We may go to the next presentation from Jan, again, on Bosco Circular.
Thanks, Moe. If I'm right, my screen is showing properly.
Yes, it is. All
Thank
right.
you. And can you mute the microphone at your side because I got an echo?
Yes, just now. Yes.
Thanks a lot. All right, lessons learned already from Bosco Circular. When we are looking to the transition of the built environment, we have found that it has to be a circular transition because we started with the energy transition. What we see is that the energy transition is vastly accelerated by the material transition. We see that climate issues are popping up. They are also strengthening the renovation wave. And last but not least, as Paul underlined, digital transition also is a very strong driver and accelerator. And that means that the renovation wave will be huge. And in order to serve the wave and to contribute, you have to have proper skills. And within Bosco Circular, we are working especially on how to add circularity to that movement, because if we only address the energy transition or the digital transition without keeping into account or taking into account materials and the circular economy principles, then we are, instead of creating solutions, we are creating future hazards, you can say, and future waste. Within Busco Circular, we are working with this focus, because when you are talking about the circular construction chain, it's very important to have the skills in place. And because when we are looking to the greening of the roofs, the facades, and the inner walls, we see that there is a big group of professions, occupations involved. And they all have to have the circular skills properly in place. In order to do so, we have found very useful the key element principles from circular economy in Amsterdam. They are stating that in order to become circular, you have to work dismountable, modular. You have to be able to recognize and measure. The collaboration in the value chain has to be proper, more than proper. You have to rethink the business models because old linear models in many cases do not work when you start with circularity. Digitization has to be in place. You have to have strategies to stretch the lifetime, for example, by repairing services. And when you are taking parts of the building, you have to have high quality reuse there where possible. And in order to do so, you also have to strengthen the exchange of knowledge, because if you are a carpenter, you are creating something in the facade, and later on it's found out that it's not easy to reuse it at a high quality level, then that knowledge has to reach you in order to improve your job. So knowledge exchange in becoming circular within a sustained built environment is very important. We started the project by developing a circular construction skills qualification framework. And in this presentation, I'm further elaborating the things we have done and the lessons learned. We started with the skills mapping. Why? We started with the skills mapping to better understand the skills gap existing within the construction industry in relation to the circular economy and all the stuff we have talked previously about, just summarized in this nice acronym. How did we do that? We did that by interviewing front-runner professionals from all parts of the value chain, and we asked them to rate their current and their future skill levels based on a skills level table, and the skills table that contains many of the specialisms needed to become circular. Why interviewing frontrunners? Because if you ask the mass, then you cannot make the change. In order to do so properly, we created a list of professionals that relates to sustaining the built environment while applying circular principles. Summarized circular economy for sustaining the built environment. And in order to make it more manageable, we added them in so-called reference professions or trades or occupations. For example, within the reference profession of the architect, we have quite a big group of names found within European context that is falling within the definition of the reference profession. What we also did is that we gave a small definition, and as we were quite open, if there are any recommendations or changes required, we are open to that. And by doing that, you have a good definition of the profession or the trade, the names that are falling within that the scope from the several countries and sectors and what they do. Then we created a list of skills, and to do so we have split them in several groups: a group on circular economy, a group on skills relating to sustaining the built environment when working towards circularity, and last but not least, skills related to making multifunctional green roofs, facades, and inner elements, as that is the context where the project is working on. And without context, you cannot show the proper skills. This results in a set of skills or specialisms relating to sustaining the built environment, and we have grouped them within the key elements introduced earlier. For example, use waste as a resource to do better recycling. We also have very specific circular economy skills. These are, for example, design and build for the future, a strategy. Build for reuse, that's also quite an important strategy. Build for repurposes or design and build. Apply material passports. And last but not least, an overview of skills related to making roofs and facades multifunctional. And these are just examples. The full results can be found on the website of Busco Circular, as these deliverables have been published and are open. Then the skill levels, we apply the profit track definitions in order to categorize the outcomes of the interviews with the front runners. And then we collated the output from the countries involved within a European skill gap overview. For example, if you are a landscape architect, in order to prioritize regenerative resources, the current level of skills was found at a 2. The future level, the experts indicate, should be at level 4. And when going back, you can see they have to have advanced knowledge involving a critical understanding and so on. Based on that, we can give skill recommendations in order to develop your personal skills. Here you can see this overview for a new profession, the demolition or deconstruction auditor, that makes sure that components are registered properly so that they can be reused in other buildings. And here you see the codes of all the specialisms related, including the levels, level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that means that there are a few. There is one where the skills have to be at level 5, a number on 4, a number on 3. So in general, this is quite a heavy job in order to get upskilled to. In order to visualize and to make things attractive, we have visualized several of the professions within their working context. For example, the landscaper architect, the green facade specialist, or the green roofer. And the policymaker, also a very important one. And we also illustrated the key principles. So make use of bio-based products, reinvent the business models, taking into account profit, people, and the planet, and making sure that waste from the built environment is properly re-looped into new products that can add value. Then we started with working on a qualification, and here you can see several similarities with the Bus League work. What we did is that in this case, we created a principle-based skills qualifications. So we integrated the 9 circular principles, and we focused on, if you are a member of the value chain, which of those principles can you take in use and what kind of skills do you need, including interdisciplinary? Not included are the detailed skills and knowledge, the technology-specific skills and knowledge. The principle addressed, shortly summarized here, previously already introduced, and a snapshot of how that looks. You see here the principle designed for the future. You can see here the specific tasks that popped up as relevant. Those tasks are linked to unit of learning outcomes, and the unit of learning outcomes are linked to the reference professions, so that you can do upskilling that is profession, occupation based, and also fit for your work. Here on the principle assemble and construct for the future, here on incorporation of digital technology. And because it is a principle-based qualification, you learn the general principles and applications. What's next within this project? Yeah, we are working on stimulation of market demand for circularity of skills, both by advertising, green public procurement, but also in getting craftsmen and professions involved to use the Build Up Skills Advisor app to properly upskill on this topic. So we also have created a catalog of circular skills trainings that will be added in the coming months to the app repository of trainings. We try to recognize the skills by delivery of train the trainer course and recognition schemes. The train the trainer will be in January. So if there are people in your country interested to become a BUSCO circular trainer on the key elements, skills for sustaining the built environment in a circular way, feel free to contact us. The only thing you need to do, and that's very important, is that you have, when you are trained, you have to organize one or more, preferable more trainings within your own country to train people actively working in the value chain. We also are working on a mentoring program to become more diverse and inclusive in all sense. And we are working on a replication to other domains. So currently the domain is multifunctional roofs facades, but we also want to prove that it is replicable, for example, for heat pumps or for isolation or for glazing, whatever topic you can choose. Here are the details and also the colophone with the overview of the project partners. Thanks for your attention. Questions, highly welcome. And now you have to unmute yourself, I suppose.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Jan. It was a very well-covered presentation, and also communication technique-wise, it was very nice to see. We may now give the floor to Oria. It's 11:54. We are a few minutes behind the schedule. I see your screen, Oria. I may mute myself. You have 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Mohi. Welcome again. Hello again. And I will present again after Ian's brilliant cartoons. The NZAP Ready. It's about enhancing market readiness for the NZAP implementation. I have the privilege to coordinate this project together with other 7 partners from 6 countries, targeting 5 countries, Bulgaria, Croatia, Portugal, Poland, and Romania. And together with DICLAY Europe from Germany, we want to prepare better the market for the NZAP. Because although legal obligations are provided at national level by transposing the EPBD directive, the nearly zero energy building concept does not seem to be easily applicable yet in many countries. And this is the case of our 5 target countries, in which we assessed preliminary at the proposal stage the NZEB readiness based on 3 criteria: awareness, skills, and tools, which are the pillars of the initiative that I'm now presenting. So the idea is, based on this pillar, to raise the readiness level of our markets in order to be NZEB ready. We are aiming to leverage the market drive by responding to 3 simple questions, apparently. Why NZEB? This addressed the lack of awareness on NZEB benefits and content and concept and standard. Who can provide NZEB? And this is targeted to the lack of skilled professionals in order to develop specialization programs and qualification training to make the professionals and the experts and the decision makers ready for NZEB. And last but not least, how to reach NZEB. And this is related to the need to have support instruments in order to implement the NZEB ready label procedures in the 5 countries. The overarching goal, of course, is to support the increase of the market readiness and to stimulate the demand for energy-related skills. And we started last year in September. This is one of the reasons we were not present, maybe because we are at the very beginning in the last workshop on sustainable places, but now here we are. And we want to increase the impact by the results that we are now working on, to train municipalities, to upskill energy auditor experts, designers, execution engineers, to develop new certification schemes, to have new key specialists in these schemes trained with maybe new qualifications which are not regulated in our countries, for example, blow-door tester, thermal bridges evaluator, or infrared inspector. And to mobilize the market, to partner, to network to stakeholders with NZEB product suppliers, to have joint actions with them, and to central and regional and local public authorities. And the main outcome should be a reduced gap between design and actual energy performance. So based on the 3 pillars, of which the first is NZEB awareness, we are starting now from the identification of key needs for the target groups to become NZEB ready in order to define tailored campaign for new generations, why NZEB, to beneficiaries engagement, how to go NZEB, or having best practices put in campaign through testimonials to show who is NZEB. We will have national NZEB brokerage events, and as all the 3 pillars at the end of our activities, we will inject all the results in the NZEB Ready platform that we are now building in our project. The second pillar, the training, we are targeting strategic professionals in the continuous learning training and certification program for mutual recognition. We are targeting specialization course, so we are now trying to build up microcredits, short courses of 2 days, around 14 hours each. We already identified what are the courses that we need in our countries and what are the courses that we can share because we already developed in our country. And this is the exchange between us as partnering countries in the project in order to share the experience, to support mutual recognition, and to stimulate NZEB readiness in our markets. And the last pillar, the development of demand-side support tools. These are for the public sector, to stimulate market demands, but also for the homeowners. A special focus is put on local authorities for the procurement actions. We are intending to establish and develop key guidance and tools to give direct support for the implementation of NZEP Ready project, to facilitate peer review learning, to stimulate the demand of skilled NZEP key professionals in the procurement of the NZEP works, and to promote the use of skilled NZEP professionals by public authorities. Again, all the knowledge and all the results that we will gain and develop within the project will inject in a special dedicated module of the all-in-one platform NZEP Ready that is under development. So the platform is already structured. We already have the first module delivered some months ago with the inventory of the support initiatives. I will tell you about some words in 1 minute. And then we have the boxes that will be filled on in a structured way with general information and specific information from our countries. And then the idea is to direct the user of the, 10 target groups that we have structured in the project to national related relevant information from the platforms in our countries. It is about awareness, better understanding of NZEP, education and training. It's about qualification and support tools. And at the end, we will have some actions in order to stimulate and to support replication, either from within our countries, from the cities where we are, to other cities for some relevant results, or to other countries that are not part of the action of the NZEP Ready project. So this is coming soon. What we already deliver is the module 1 of the NZEP platform. It's the result of the knowledge bridging activities that we perform in the first part of the project. And it's a searchable repository which is running now. You can filter on category, on output types, educational materials, reports, schemes and frameworks, training materials, videos and webinars, web application platforms, and more. Filtering by language, by country, or by initiative funding programs. We have already 19 bibliographical notes of previous initiatives, a description and link to the website if it's still active, with 43 linked outcomes. And you are welcome to contact us in order to give us the information to enrich the repository that we already delivered on the NZEP Ready platform. And it's maybe too early to announce some lesson learned, but in any case, there is a need to increase readiness of the market on the for the NZEP implementation. It's not enough to have the obligation and implementation in the official journal. There is more actually to recognize the NZEP in real market. So the NZEP awareness is increasing, as we could identify in our focus group inquiry, yet more effort is needed in order to have the construction chain ready for the NZEP implementation. There is a need for upskilling in the framework of existing qualification, but also to have new qualification like blower door testers, thermal bridge evaluators, infrared inspectors, and more. And it's also a need for practical tools and procedures to facilitate the application of the NZEP standard in practice. And maybe we didn't think of it at that time when we proposed the action, but maybe you noticed that NZEP Ready has the visual of the HD Ready for some time. When the HD, the high definition standard appeared in television, there were the 720i, which was from interlaced, and it wasn't HD, but it was ready for HD. And now it's coming in our minds with the proposal from the European Commission for the revision or the recast of the EPBD, that the NZEP Ready is now seen as a transition to zero emission building standard, which will be enforced at the moment of 2030 for all buildings and 3 years before for the public buildings. So what we want to do now is to concentrate on how to implement in real life the NZEP standard as a transition to the zero emission building. So please be free to note the platform.nzepready.eu to search there. If you're not there, just highlight us and we will manage to put the information from you there. If there is an old initiative and the website, or I don't know, the information is not available on what you developed long time ago, just give us the information and we will continue sharing it. And yeah, follow us for more that we are now to do in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Oria, for your presentation. I'm looking at the chat. Yes, we don't have a question, but we have 10 online participants. For the people in the room, if you have any questions, now is the time. Feel free to ask. We are at this time, the Q&A session of our session. If not, I may address a point, a very beneficial point, I think, that Luca mentioned yesterday, and I added it in the email. So for each of you, it would be very nice to know 3 main lessons learned in a nutshell from your projects. It can be very quick, like 30 seconds, 1 minute. And it is more addressed to older projects because you are the ones who have already some lessons learned, but also from the newer projects, if you wanted to say something, please feel free to do so. So we may start with the first project for Heritage. I'm going to move the laptop so the people online can hear you well. Okay.
The 3 main lessons learned. Competencies. I overread that, so I have to do it now. Yeah, camera is here. So maybe not 3, maybe just how much I get. I think the first thing is our first guess that we don't have very much trainings and competences available, that they really trained for historic buildings. That was true. So that's a lesson learned, but was right. So we had a lack of these trainings, a lack of also communication about that skills. I think that was one of the lessons learned, which was a lesson which was confirmed. The second lesson was we have some trainings provider, they are able to run the training, to have the competences, but they might struggling with for businesses very easy topics, the strategic plan forward. So if you ask a public administration about trainings purposes and training development and trainings offers, they will not talk about the next year because they have just the budget for the next year. So we related to competences. When we train the competences, there is definitely a challenge related to the topic of trainings providers. And the third lessons, because I'm on 3, that we really struggle a little bit with the trainers in local languages to train our trainer. So that's definitely a challenge we have. We have the people, they are experienced, but if they are experienced, they're not maybe willing to stand there and talk about it. That's definitely the point. So I hope that was short enough.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know if anyone has any questions to Gerald. No, we don't. So we don't have Uli with us anymore. He left to the airport. He had a flight. So instruct project, 3 main lessons. I may bring the laptop there. Or, okay, thank you.
All right, so maybe not lessons learned, but maybe some conclusions regarding the skills. So first of all, this is kind of my private opinion also, that we need to work at the grassroots with all the energy efficiency topic, because, all right, most of our stakeholders are aware of the energy efficiency. We are targeting professionals, and they know that energy efficiency and all the process in the construction value chain is really important. But we need also to reach common people, to encourage them to invest in their homes. We need to reach investors, that not only money is really important, to show them really benefits from using proper materials, and to how it will generate the savings in the long-term perspective, not thinking only about 1-2 years, that we now spend less money on materials, spend less money on less skilled workers, but we need to think about the longest perspective. So I think this is one of my main insights and comments.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
If we keep the order, the next was Jan, Postlik project. You may tell us about 3 main lessons learned. Jan, can you hear me? Okay, we go to the next project. Oria, you may tell us about NZEP Roadshow. In a nutshell, 3 main lessons learned.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I think that we demonstrate that the approach is effective. So maybe the first lesson learned is create, show, demonstrate. If you simplify complex concepts, then it is easy to increase the understanding and the awareness to implement it, like the gamification example. And I remember a saying from John Coltrane, there is fun in being serious. And this is what we are doing. Secondly, involve personally, pull and not push. If you want to change a current situation or a solution, then you should not insist in modifying the existing solution. Just concentrate on the new solution, and it will be selected and the other abandoned. And the third one is partner and network. We are not alone in this adventure, in this challenge. Just involve the others. There are many others doing the same thing. So cluster with them, and we will increase the impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oria. I see Jan is here. Can you hear me, Jan? Okay. So we got to know about the 3 main lessons learned from the older projects. On the other side, we have the newer projects. So if you have any comments about your projects, please let us know. Okay, Jan, I can see you now. 3 main lessons
Is the
learned.
event still going on?
Yes, yes.
In some way, my connection was broken.
Oh, okay, no worries. It was just your turn. I wanted to ask you about 3 main lessons learned for Bostik project in a nutshell. It can be few seconds. I think he has connection problem. Yes. Anyone has any questions or any comments? If no, I think we are just in time to go to the conclusion slide. So Luca, please, the floor is yours. Here he will, Luca will tell us kindly about the future calls from the European Commission. I check if I can see this. Apologies, it was muted.
Right.
My mistake.
No problem.
Is it okay?
Of course.
Sorry about it. It was definitely a mistake.
No, we can start from here. So basically, there is one element I think people who are not connected, I would like to stress again. First, thank you very much for your insightful presentations. It was very good. And there's a lot of promising work which has been delivered already and is being developed. Then the next opportunity for continuing this exchange will be on the 29th and 30th of November during the 14th Build Up Skills EU exchange meeting, for which you have received, all the beneficiaries of the ongoing projects have received the save the date, plus also an invitation to share ideas for the agenda and the areas you would like to focus on. Yes, Gary.
I couldn't remember the email and now I search it. And I read in the email 28 in the afternoon and 29 in the morning.
You're very right. Apologies.
Okay, just to get it.
No. So 28th and 29th. Yes, it's a little bit far. There was a summer break in between this email and this conference. So indeed, 28th and 29th. So please, in any case, there is still an opportunity for you to share ideas on what you would like really to work on. It will be a remote. So an online meeting again, unfortunately, but there's still an opportunity to gather all this amazing community we have. That being said, this journey will be continuing over the next years, and I would like to take this opportunity to share with you the current funding opportunities available. We have the LIFE CET, Clean Energy Transition call open until the 16th of November 2022. There are nearly 100 million euros available for grants. For 18 topics are open, 95% co-funding rate from the institutions. Here in the framework of Build Up Skills, there are 2 topics open, and you will find, and I would be happy to distribute this slide here, the link to the portal where you can find the whole topic. But in a nutshell, the scope A is rebooting the Build Up Skills national platforms and roadmaps. You may wonder, but this was already open last year. That's true, but we have here a note, and I read this out, that we have provided all the current negotiations, all the contracts are going to be successfully signed with the beneficiaries. We will have 13 projects starting in the fall in these countries: Austria, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, France, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Lithuania, the Netherlands, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and Spain. But for other countries eligible, there is still an opportunity to apply for this scope. Here we're really aiming to revitalize. I mentioned, and I go back to the previous slide. Here, back in 2011-2012, we funded 30 national platforms which worked together. So the main stakeholders worked on a gap analysis and a roadmap up to 2020. Now we want to update this exercise based on the evolving and changed context in terms of digitalization, in terms of circularity, and other trends in the industry. Also the need, very important, not only to upskill, but also to reskill workers coming from sectors in decline. Here we have a very important element I'd like to stress. We are expecting single country applications. So even one single beneficiary applicant can apply for one single country. Expected project duration is 18 months because we want results as soon as possible, so to work then on new training and new activities, really aiming to implement those roadmaps. The objective will be to revitalize national platforms, to work on an update of the gap analysis, and to come up with new roadmaps up to 2030, as I mentioned, based on the new targets and the evolving context. The second scope, open this year until November, is the following: upskilling and reskilling interventions, enabling a decarbonized building stock. Here, unlike the previous one, we are expecting cross-country applications. So we want at least 3 applicants from 3 different eligible countries. Commission believes that in order to deliver, projects can apply for roughly 1 million euros, but you can still apply depending on the scope and the objectives of the action for a different funding rate. Here, the idea really is to develop new or upgrade existing training and qualifications for the professionals in the field. You can address one or several of the following focus areas: deep renovation, nearly zero energy buildings, renewable energy embedded in buildings, efficient heating and cooling technologies, including, and this is one of the focus areas I highlighted earlier this morning, heat pumps. Circularity, so taking into consideration the whole life cycle, digitalization, including building information modeling, and smart buildings. So you can address one or several of these areas. You have all the information online. From our website, you also have access to the recordings of the info day. And I think very valuable information will be the frequently asked questions, which are published on our website, on the portal. So you will have, on top of the official topic text, also some additional information which can help, hopefully, you in your proposal. So we wish you the best of luck also in this regard. And look forward, in any case, to the next exchanges on the 28th and 29th of November. Thank you very much for your attention, for your participation. We have a question here. Yeah.
Is there a preferred duration of the project?
So it's not 18 months as it was for scope A. We don't have a prescribed duration. Overall, the average duration of what we call coordination and support action is between 24, 30, 36 months maximum. This is the range we would expect proposal, but we're not prescriptive in that regard. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You will find all the information then on the, as I said here, and I wrote it, it's not legally binding because it's just an extract. You will find all the information is quite well detailed on the portal. And if you have any questions, of course, you can email us. No problem. So thank you very much. And we look forward to the next steps.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I may check if Jan would like to share with us. Jan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Could you please share with us 3 main lessons learned from Boslik project, if you'd like, in a nutshell, very quick.
Yeah, and I will do it both from Boslik and Boscal Circular.
Yes, if that's applicable.
Yeah, main lesson 1 is when working on innovations and innovative topics, then you have to consolidate the front runners in order to get the best answers on what kind of skills are needed. Secondly, if you work on innovations and innovative topics, the biggest uptake is after the project duration. So in the exploitation and replication strategies, you have to be keen that the mass market still has to develop, and that means that the project outcomes are of value for a number of years after the project. For example, our courses on heat pumps in 2012 are now becoming the mass course, and that means that it took 10 years for the market to come up to speed. And lesson 3 is do not focus too much on a small corner of the value chain, because in order to deliver a built environment that is ZEB and functioning in its environment, you need to involve the full value chain, because energy efficiency is not independent from climate adaptation. They are exchanging things with each other. And especially for the build-up skills projects in the coming outline, we should be very aware that in order to deliver properly skilled persons, we need to show them and make clear for them how these interactions between the different topics, climate adaptation, circularity, digitization, energy, the health of people, are interlinked and influencing each other more and more stronger. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Jan. I may ask the audiences online and in the room if you have any questions for Jan. If no, we may close this session. So thanks a lot, everyone, for your precious attendance and attention, and also Luca for your valuable presence. For your presentations, for those that I have them, I will put them online. For those that I don't, please send it to me. Of course, you can modify it and then send it to me. And also, if you're opposed to me putting it online, just let me know. About the recordings, they will be available soon, and we will put it on the website within 2 weeks. And I will contact you all for the Open Research Europe publication that we may write together. And yes, thank you very much. For those that are physically here, we have the lunch takeaway downstairs in the lobby, served until 2 o'clock. For those coming to the IMRAD visit, the meeting point is at the registration desk. And for those going back home, have a safe flight. You may take tram number 1 and 2. It takes 40 minutes to get to the airport. And good afternoon to those online. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Molly, for the excellent hosting.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for organizing that and keep us pushing through the details and making all this workshop happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.